June 15th, 1947. Miller's Barbershop, Lenox Avenue, Harlem. The morning rush was just ending. 16 men sat waiting for haircuts, the smell of pomade and aftershave mixed with cigar smoke. Outside, Harlem was waking up. Street vendors calling out prices, kids running to school, the number 2 trolley rattling down the avenue. At chair number 3, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson sat perfectly still while Jimmy Miller worked his scissors. Bumpy came here every Tuesday morning. Same time, same chair. For 12 years. What Bumpy didn't know, what nobody in that barbershop knew, was that the man sitting 3 chairs down had already sold his life for $12,000. Marcus Tick Williams. Bumpy's childhood friend. The boy who grew up 2 houses down on 120th Street. The man Bumpy called brother for 33 years. Tick had been wearing a wire for the past 6 weeks. He'd given the Genovese family every detail of Bumpy's operation. Meeting locations, money routes, protection schedules, everything. And that morning, in Miller's barbershop, with 300 witnesses walking past those windows, Tick was about to give them the one thing they wanted most. Bumpy Johnson's location at a specific time, so the hit squad waiting 2 blocks away could move in. But what happened in the next 45 minutes didn't just change Tick's life and Bumpy's life. It changed how loyalty worked in Harlem, forever. Because Bumpy Johnson knew about the wire, had known for 5 weeks, and he'd come to that barbershop anyway, on purpose. This is the story they whisper about in Harlem, the story old-timers tell when young hustlers ask what real justice looks like. The story about the morning 300 people learned you can't betray a king and walk away. The morning Marcus Williams walked into Miller's barbershop and never walked out. To understand what happened that morning, we have to go back, way back. 1914, 120th Street, Harlem. Ellsworth Johnson was 6 years old when his family moved from South Carolina to Harlem. They rented a cold water flat on the 3rd floor of a tenement building. No heat, no hot water, rats in the walls. 2 doors down lived the Williams family. They had a son the same age, Marcus. But everyone called him Tick because he couldn't sit still, always tapping his feet, drumming his fingers, moving like a clock. Bumpy and Tick became inseparable. They stole apples from the corner market together, got chased by the same cops, shared their first cigarette behind PS 139. When Bumpy's father died in 1919, Tick's family fed Bumpy for 3 months. When Tick got jumped by older kids in 1921, Bumpy came back with a baseball bat and 3 friends. They never got jumped again. By the time they were teenagers, Bumpy and Tick were running errands for Stephanie St. Clair, the queen of Harlem's numbers racket. They collected bets, delivered envelopes, watched street corners. Bumpy was quiet, calculating, always 3 steps ahead. Tick was loud, impulsive, but loyal, or so everyone thought. In 1928, when Bumpy went to prison for the first time, assault with a deadly weapon, Tick visited him every month for 2 years, brought him books, cigarettes, news from the street. When Bumpy got out in 1930, he promoted Tick to lieutenant in his growing organization. Tick ran the numbers operation in Harlem's 130 seconds, made good money, had respect. For 17 years Tick was Bumpy's right hand. They'd been through everything together. Shootouts with Dutch Schultz's men, police raids, betrayals by other crews. They'd survived it all. Until February 1947. That's when Tick made the mistake that would cost him everything. He got greedy. February 1947. The Savoy Ballroom. Tick was supposed to deliver $75,000 in numbers money to Bumpy's accountant, standard weekly collection. But Tick had a gambling problem nobody knew about. He owed $17,000 to a high-stakes card game run by the Genovese family. Mob guys, who didn't forgive debts. So Tick took $17,000 from the bag, figured he'd pay it back before anyone noticed. But Bumpy noticed. Bumpy always noticed. Instead of confronting Tick, Bumpy watched, waited, wanted to see if Tick would confess, if he'd make it right. Tick didn't. For 3 months Tick said nothing, acted normal, smiled in Bumpy's face like everything was fine. That's when Bumpy knew his brother wasn't his brother anymore. But here's what Bumpy didn't know yet. The Genovese family knew about Tick's debt, and they saw an opportunity. May 1947. A basement in Little Italy. Vincent the Chin Gigante sat across from Tick Williams in a dim room that smelled like wine and old wood. "You owe us 17,000, Gigante said, but we can make that disappear, plus give you 12,000 more, 29,000 total." Tick's hands shook. "What do you want?" "We want Bumpy Johnson." Gigante laid out the plan, simple, brutal, effective. Tick would wear a wire. Document Bumpy's operation, give them locations, schedules, vulnerabilities, and when they had enough, they'd move in. "You do this," Gigante said, "your debt's gone. You get 12,000 cash, and you get to live. You don't do this?" He let the silence finish the sentence. Tick had a choice: die, or betray Bumpy. He chose betrayal. For the next 6 weeks, Tick wore that wire everywhere, to meetings, to collections, to Bumpy's own home. He gave the Genovese family everything. But what Tick didn't know, what Vincent Gigante didn't know, was that Bumpy Johnson had eyes everywhere, including inside the Genovese family. A low-level soldier named Sal Maranzano owed Bumpy a favor from 1945. A big favor. Bumpy had saved Sal's brother from a murder charge by providing an alibi and 3 witnesses who remembered seeing him at a different location. Sal never forgot. So when he heard about the Tick Williams wire operation in a basement meeting, Sal made a phone call. 3 days later, Bumpy knew everything. The 17,000 Tick stole, the Genovese deal, the wire, the plan, everything. Most men would have killed Tick immediately, in an alley, quick, quiet, clean, but Bumpy Johnson wasn't most men. He wanted everyone to see. He wanted to send a message that would last 50 years. He wanted 300 witnesses. June 10th, 1947, 5 days before the barbershop, Bumpy called a meeting with his top 5 lieutenants, not at his usual spot, not at any place Tick would know about. A warehouse basement in the Bronx, cement floors, 1 light bulb, no windows. "Tick is working with the Genovese family," Bumpy said. "No emotion, just facts, silence, then anger, shouting. Calls for immediate execution." Bumpy raised his hand. The room went quiet. "We're going to do this right," he said. "We're going to do it public. We're going to make it a lesson." He laid out the plan. Tuesday morning, Miller's barbershop. Bumpy would keep his regular appointment. Tick would be there. Bumpy would make sure of that by mentioning a big payment discussion that Tick wouldn't miss. The Genovese hit squad would be watching, waiting for their moment to move. But Bumpy's men would be watching the watchers. 20 armed soldiers positioned in stores, rooftops, cars, an invisible net around a 4-block radius. When Tick makes his move, Bumpy said, when he gives the signal to the Genovese boys, that's when we move. In front of everyone. Let Harlem see what happens to traitors. "What about the wire?" one lieutenant asked. Bumpy smiled. "Let him wear it. I want the Genovese family to hear everything that happens." June 14th, 1947, 1 day before. Tick was nervous. The meet was set. Miller's barbershop, 8:30 a.m. Bumpy would be in chair 3. Vulnerable, surrounded by civilians. Gigante's instructions were clear. Make sure he's there. Keep him there. We'll handle the rest. But that night, Tick couldn't sleep. 33 years of friendship. Playing stickball on 120th Street. Sharing lunch money. Bumpy at his mother's funeral. Tick at Bumpy's wedding. All for $12,000. Tick poured a drink, then another, then a third. By midnight, he'd convinced himself it was business. Bumpy would do the same if positions were reversed. It was just the game. Nothing personal. He was lying to himself. But lies help when you're about to betray your brother. June 15th, 1947, 7:45 a.m. Tick walked to Miller's barbershop. The wire was taped to his chest. The Genovese men were in position, 2 in a car on 125th, 3 more on foot pretending to be street vendors. Tick pushed open the barbershop door. The bell jingled. Bumpy was already there. Chair 3, reading the Amsterdam news. "Tick," Bumpy called out, smiled. "Right on time, brother. Have a seat. We'll talk after my cut." Tick sat down 3 chairs away. His heart was hammering, sweat on his palms despite the cool morning. Everything was normal, too normal. 8:10 a.m. Outside, the street was filling up, morning rush, people heading to work, street vendors setting up, school kids in groups, hundreds of people flowing past those big barbershop windows. Inside, Jimmy Miller was almost done with Bumpy's haircut. "Little off the top, Mr. Johnson?" "That's perfect, Jimmy. Perfect." Tick glanced out the window, saw the Genovese car, saw the signal man on the corner. They were ready. All Tick had to do was give the word through the wire, "Bumpy's leaving now." That was the trigger. Gigante's men would move. 3 minutes, in and out. Bumpy would be dead before his hair hit the floor. But then Bumpy did something strange. He stood up, looked directly at Tick, and smiled. Not a friendly smile, a knowing smile. "Tick," Bumpy said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "take a walk with me out back. Need to discuss something private." Tick froze. Out back, the back room, away from witnesses, away from the street. That's when Tick knew. Bumpy knew about the wire. Tick's hand moved toward his jacket. Maybe. For a weapon. Maybe just panic. But before he could reach anything, 4 men stood up from the waiting area. Bumpy's men. They'd been there the whole time, reading magazines, waiting for haircuts, looking like regular customers. They weren't. The door jingled. 3 more men walked in, blocked the exit. Outside, Tick saw the Genovese car pull away fast. They'd been warned off. Someone had tipped them. Tick was alone, surrounded, in a room full of people who were about to learn what betrayal costs. 8:17 a.m., Miller's Barbershop. The room had gone dead silent. Even the straight razors had stopped scraping. Everyone knew something was about to happen. Bumpy walked slowly toward Tick, not rushed, not angry, just purposeful. "Stand up, Tick." Tick stood. His legs barely worked. "You know why we're here?" Bumpy asked. Tick said nothing. His throat had closed. Bumpy reached out and ripped open Tick's shirt. Buttons scattered across the tile floor like dice. There it was, the wire. Taped to his chest, little microphone, little transmitter. Federal-grade equipment courtesy of the Genovese family. Gasps from around the room. 33 years, Bumpy said. His voice was quiet, but it filled the space. 33 years I called you brother. Bump, I can explain. 17,000. That's what you stole from me in February. More gasps. People who'd respected Tick for years now saw him different. And 12,000. That's what they paid you to sell me out. Bumpy walked to the barber counter, picked up a straight razor. The morning light caught the blade. 29,000 total. That's the price of 33 years of brotherhood. That's what my life is worth to you. The room was so quiet you could hear breathing. Outside, 300 people were walking past those windows, shopping, talking, living their Tuesday. Inside, justice was being measured in silver and steel. "You know what kills me, Tick?" Bumpy turned the razor in his hand. "It's not the money. Not the wire. Not even the betrayal." He stepped closer. "It's that you were going to let me die thinking you were my brother. You were going to smile in my face while they put bullets in my back. That's what I can't forgive." Tick tried to speak. "I had no choice. Everyone has a choice." Bumpy's voice was steel. "You chose money over loyalty. You chose the Genovese family over Harlem. You chose to be a coward." Bumpy looked around the room, at the barbers, the customers, the men on the street visible through the window. "Everyone here is a witness," he said. "Let this be a lesson. In Harlem, we protect our own, we honor our word, and we never, never betray family for silver." What happened next took 7 seconds. 7 seconds that 300 people would talk about for the next 50 years. Bumpy moved. Fast, the razor flashed. Tick tried to run, but Bumpy's men held him. The straight razor did its work. Not a killing stroke, something worse. Bumpy carved 3 letters into Tick's forehead, deep enough to scar forever. R.A.T. Tick screamed. Blood ran down his face, but no one moved to help him. Bumpy stepped back, dropped the razor in the sink. "Get him out of here. Let everyone see him. Let them know what betrayal looks like." Bumpy's men dragged Tick out onto Lenox Avenue. Middle of the morning rush, hundreds of people, blood streaming down his face. 3 letters carved into his forehead for everyone to read. R.A.T. Tick Williams stumbled down the street. People parted like the Red Sea. Mothers pulled their children away. Men spat on the ground as he passed. Tick kept walking. South, away from Harlem, away from everything he'd known for 33 years. He made it 6 blocks before collapsing. An ambulance took him to Harlem Hospital. They stitched his forehead, 42 stitches, but no doctor could stitch back his reputation, his name, his life. Tick Williams left Harlem that night, got on a bus to Philadelphia with $7 in his pocket and 3 letters branded on his skull. He never came back. The aftermath. The Genovese family got the message. Vincent Gigante called off the hit, even sent word to Bumpy through back channels, respect, the wire recording from that morning. Gigante sent it to Bumpy as a gift. Bumpy played it once, heard Tick's breathing speed up as Bumpy approached, heard the fear, heard the betrayal die in real time. Then Bumpy burned the tape. Miller's Barbershop became legendary. For the next 40 years, people would walk past and point. That's where Bumpy handled Tick Williams. The story grew, changed, added details. But the core truth never changed. Betray Bumpy Johnson and the whole neighborhood would know. But here's what most people don't know. 3 months later, Bumpy received a letter. No return address. Postmarked Philadelphia. It was from Tick. 1 page, handwritten, shaky letters. Bump, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't expect you to. I just need you to know, I think about those 33 years every day. I think about your father's funeral, your wedding, the night we saved Jerome from those cops. I threw it all away for $12,000 I spent in 3 weeks. I'm living in a room smaller than a cell. Nobody will hire me. Nobody will look at me. I see these letters every morning in the mirror, and I deserve them. You gave me a gift, Bump. You could have killed me. You let me live, so I have to see what I did every day for the rest of my life. That's worse than dying. That's real justice. Thank you for that. I hope Harlem knows what kind of man you are. I knew, and I betrayed you anyway. That's something I'll carry to my grave. Bumpy never responded, but he kept that letter, in a box, with other things that mattered. When Bumpy Johnson died in 1968, his widow found that letter. She burned it, like Bumpy would have wanted. Some betrayals are too heavy to pass down. So what's the lesson here? It's not just don't betray your friends. That's obvious. The real lesson is about public justice, about making examples, about showing a community what values matter. Bumpy didn't kill Tick in an alley. He didn't disappear him. He didn't make it quiet. He made it visible. 300 witnesses, middle of the morning, in the heart of Harlem, because Bumpy understood something that most people miss. Power isn't about violence, it's about messages. That morning in Miller's Barbershop, Bumpy sent a message that lasted decades. Young hustlers coming up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they all heard the story of Tick Williams, the man who sold out the king for $12,000. And they learned short-term money isn't worth long-term shame. Tick Williams lived until 1979, died alone in a Philadelphia boarding house. Heart attack. He was 67 years old. The landlord found him 3 days later. At his funeral, 7 people came, none from Harlem, none who knew him before 1947. He died the same way he'd lived for 32 years after that morning, marked, isolated, remembered only for his worst moment. Bumpy Johnson died 11 years before Tick. When Bumpy passed, 5,000 people came to his funeral. Lines wrapped around the block. The Genovese family sent flowers. Malcolm X's family sent condolences. Harlem stopped. Because Bumpy Johnson died the way he lived, respected, feared, honored. 2 funerals, 2 men who grew up on the same street. 2 brothers who made different choices. One chose loyalty, one chose silver. One is a legend, one is a cautionary tale. June 15, 1947, Miller's Barbershop. That morning changed Harlem. Not because of violence, though there was blood. Not because of money, though that's what started it. It changed Harlem because 300 people learned what their community stood for. Loyalty over silver. Honor over convenience. Brotherhood over betrayal. Those values held for decades. Old-timers still tell the story, still point out the barbershop, still shake their heads when they talk about Tick Williams, and they smile when they talk about Bumpy Johnson, the man who valued brotherhood so much he made betrayal unforgivable, the man who loved Harlem so much he made sure everyone knew the price of selling it out, the godfather of Harlem, who never forgot where he came from, who never forgot who had his back, and who made damn sure that anyone who forgot learned the lesson carved in scar tissue. 3 letters, 1 message, 300 witnesses, R.A.T. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold stories from Harlem's greatest era, and leave a comment. Would you have done what Bumpy did? Or would you have just killed Tick quietly? We drop new stories every week, real history, real legends, real lessons. This is Harlem, this is Bumpy Johnson, this is the untold legend.